this next guest here on with us, making his second trip back on with the boys. He played 453 games in the show with 6 teams, played some hockey overseas. Let's welcome back to the show Rob's favorite dad rocket, Maple Leafs alumni, our buddy Todd Warriner. Todd, how's it going, man?
Rob, I appreciate that, buddy. I don't know if that's true in my house, but thanks.
Well, you had the hair flow and everything last time. Now you got it all contained.
Well, I was on the ice earlier with my toucan, so you didn't need to see that. So
that's funny.
Good to be with you, boys.
So what's up, man? Long time no see on the show here. Too long.
Yeah, well, I've been busy. I mean, you guys know I was helping coach the Lancers last time we talked, so I got offered another job is what happened. I miss coaching the team. I do. But a friend of mine was running a program in Toronto. So I've been making trips to Toronto on the weekends to do skill development stuff with kids. And so I really like it, but freed up a little bit of time to watch some of my own kids' things, school sports and dance and all the other stuff with the girls. So it's been kind of nice. And so now I'm not back in Toronto until January 6th. So I have like a huge break. And so we're just waiting for my oldest daughter to get home from Ottawa. She's doing exams today. And then we'll settle in for a nice little holiday.
Beauty.
Nice. Are you constantly commuting up there, or do you got a place up there, or what?
Well, so my buddy is he's the director of hockey is his title with the Lee side. So it's like I don't know if guys know Lee side in Toronto, nice little area kind of between downtown and Scarborough and the northeast, south of the 401. So he grew up playing there and got tapped for this job. And so he needed guys to run some of the programs. And so he mentioned it to me in the summer, the Lancers, we were planning that, big humanitarian trip out to BC. And so I was sort of wavering on it, but I stay with him. So his wife and my wife are best friends. And so it's been nice too, because we've been able to spend some weekends down there. I'll do a Friday night. And I usually, the only real thing I do consistently is Saturdays from noon till 6 o'clock on the Lee side rink. So, and then he wraps a couple or 3 hours around that, some other either Sunday morning or Friday nights. And so, yeah, it's been nice. And, we have our weeks kind of to ourselves again, where we can kind of, usher kids around and do all the things we need to be doing. Because when I was coaching the Lancers, I loved it, but it was, practices were between 4 and 6:30 kind of randomly all week, right? So I missed a lot of my kids stuff. So so Hammer was pissed I left, but I stopped a couple weeks ago and saw the team. I watched them play in Toronto there a few weeks ago too, and so it was nice to be back and see the team. They're doing really well, so I'm proud of them.
Well, he had everybody bail on him, you and Paley, eh?
Hell yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the truth is now, like I felt bad about it, but he's got lots of help. Like so Andrew Donaldson, I don't know if you guys remember, Andrew, but he helped with Cal McCarrick when he coached the B team, and he came on board a couple years ago. He's really real bright guy, loves the video side of it. She's been great for me. And then Brett Belmore. So Brett, he's only late 30s. He played, 12 or 14 years of professional hockey. So he's a defenseman. So he's got lots of help. And that was part of the reason I felt comfortable to step away from it. So we left on good terms. So, we had a meeting just like this with the guys and I said my piece and we went about. I don't think I've closed any doors to maybe come back at some point down the road. I hope not. But when you're grinding away, doing hockey schools with 6, 8, 10-year-old kids, and you miss the times on the bench with guys like that, that are so elite, and it's basically pro hockey, and these kids are balancing the hockey side with tough programs and things academically too. So I admire the kids, and it was fun to coach them, and I do miss it, but I hope that at some point down the road, maybe I can slide back in there. We'll see.
Rob and we had you dialed in. We thought you were going to the Spits.
Oh yeah.
Like we had you in. I was like,
you made the call.
I was like, could Warriner be the next head coach of the Spits? Like before Mark went in, right?
To be fair, I did talk to Billy, because I know there was a period of time there where they were sort of because when Trevor Letowski left, and I said, "Are you looking for a coach? I'd be interested," kind of thing. And that's as far as it went. But I did talk to Andy Delmore about it, and yeah, I feel like that's something I'd love to do, having been a spit. But when he had a chance to get Mark Savard fresh from an NHL bench, that's a kind of a no-brainer. He's done a great job. So, I like Trevor. I played with Trevor in Vancouver, so we're buddies, and so I think he did an awesome job. It was nice as a broadcaster to get to go down and just sort of talk with the guys and learn a few things about what they're doing and what to look for in the games as a color guy. So, yeah, at some point down the road, I'd love to do that. I don't know how that's going to come available at this point. So, I mean, some of the guys that are around there have been around for a long time, do a great job. But I do, know Billy going way back to our time playing together, right? So we'll see. I mean, it's an odd jump from the booth to the bench, right? But
a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, it would be a huge thrill for me to get to do that. I obviously. I love the team. I had a great experience as a player, so that's part of the reason I'm back in the booth and helping out. So we'll see. But I liked coaching the college level. If at some point down the road, a job like that comes available again, or I can slide back in with the Lancers, I'd love the chance to do it.
Yeah. So
Well, we'll have to get Billy to check out this interview. So you just plugged yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
I've talked to
That was
him
a
lots
great
about
interview.
D-Rob, but we weren't far off though.
No, because I figured they would talk to him because you were really loved in Windsor, and like you said, you got to play with those guys. That kind of been bringing the team back together a little bit, I thought.
Well, I mean, it didn't get to the point, to be honest. Like, it didn't even get to the point of an interview. I mean, if let's see, a couple of chats with Billy as long as we've been talking, but I never formally was interviewed for the job. I've never been formally interviewed for a coaching job, to be fair. So that's something I'll have to get my resume tight and be ready for that at some point. But look, I'm happy what I'm doing. Like, my wife and I feel like we're lucky because we've got freed up all this time. We get to spend the odd weekend with our friends down in Toronto, and we've been to a couple games, and kind of just at this point in our life, get some time back to spend with our kids, and they're all. Well, my youngest is 10, but the rest are teenagers, and one of them's away already, right? So it's like starting to be that time in our life where we want to get some time back for ourselves too, right? So it's yeah, we'll see. I love coaching. I mean, I didn't know when I took over, like when I helped the Lancers, took the job, I didn't know. Like, I knew Kevin, and we had a history together, and I would run into Coach Hamlin. Just in the rinks coaching minor hockey. He was coaching his son Ray, and I was helping with my son Sam. So we would just see each other in passing at in Elgin or in Windsor or in Chatham, and so we just kind of stayed in touch, and then he was looking for a guy, and that's how it happened. I didn't think I was really ready. Like, to be honest, like I'd only coached minor hockey. I coached a little junior C, and so I was like, okay, and so then I'm coaching. Of course, I'm coaching the D, which I'd never done, and so I had a pretty short learning curve there. I had to get my act together, and so I learned as much as I could. I went to some seminars. I talked to as many coaches as I knew and could, including Trevor Letowski, and tried to pick their brains and just learn some things. But ultimately, like, I think in the time I was there, I mean, I was so preoccupied with, having video and being able to, like, have specific, D drills or things that were, relative and new, and what you learn is it's, like so many things. It's about relationships. It's about, like, how do you interact with the players, and what I learned as a forward coaching D was, I would say to the guys, hey, if I was playing against you and you did that, here's why it's a bad idea, or here's a better option. Like, I would present the forward side of the argument and try to do my teaching that way. Like, so it really, I just sort of tapered back all the things I thought I needed to learn, sort of just narrowed down, like, what was important that particular day, and just try to deal with all the things that are coming at you. So it was just dealing with people and relationships, trying to get the most, and we're all pulling on the, on the same rope, trying to get to the same thing. So it's when they understand that and you're in their court, then I think everything else goes easier, so that's what I learned.
Yeah. Would you ever consider going back to maybe coaching junior B possibly? I know you were involved with Chatham years ago, Chatham McMax, you played for them in '89. So would you ever want to coach maybe at the junior B level?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't want to rule anything out. We're going to be here for the immediate future. And my thing in Toronto is going to, I think, morph into like a mentorship program with some of the current coaches that are there and the ones I see regularly. And we'll do spring league. We'll have a summer hockey camp, all at these sides. So I feel like, I have, and it's with people I like and enjoy. So if something were to come, I don't want to say no, but I'm going to the Blades practice tonight.
That's awesome.
To help with some of the special team stuff. So I'll always help. Like it's just like sometimes I watch, and you guys know now that this is what I honestly said to the junior kids the other day. I'm like, boys, like I coached at this level. I played here. I want to see you do well, but I also have been lucky enough to, coach at a higher level and sort of, understand some of the new trends or whatever in the game. And I think I can help you get better. And so I just, I have trouble sometimes just sitting on the sidelines watching, especially when your kid's involved, So I'll always help. If something were to come, I wouldn't turn it down. I'd see about that. But I sort of have an allegiance at this point to the OUA and that level. With Kevin and the favor he did me. I mean, at some point, if there was an opening and I could get back in, I would probably choose that first, obviously. But knowing the league and the recruitment and all the sort of ins and outs of it now, so we'll see. But I'll always coach, whether it's kids or skill development or whatever it may be. But I'm happy doing what I'm doing now. So we'll see.
Right on. Good for you.
It is awesome though, the way you're talking about like coaching the defense and coming at you as a forward perspective, like I listened to the Rink Shrinks, and it was like Mike Motto talking to a forward about, as soon as I get you to cross over, I got you. Yeah. I'm going to go around this side while you're going that way. And you know what I mean? Like it was sometimes very interesting concept.
I think, that's just sort of how I see it. Like everybody has their own sort of approach. Like I would say, just, with the D at that level, time and space and a lot of the things you see on TV in terms of like, defending and D getting in the rush, involving the D in their offense, just being, mobile and involved in the offense is a big part of what we try to teach all the time. So, but then that's just the best analogy I can give sometimes to a player is like, hey, like I saw what you did, or like I'm just thinking as a forward, if you were to do that to me, that I want you to do that, or I don't want you to do this. So like I found it hard when a defenseman, took away my time here or pushed me to the outside, whatever it may be. So it was just my way of better relating to the position because I don't really know it, right? So I just would sort of picture myself on the ice in that scenario and what would be comfortable or uncomfortable, and that's how I try to help them. But yeah, I just and what you learn with the D is you're kind of in your own little world down there at that end, right? So when you're coaching at that level, you have your pairings, you have matchups you're looking to get, you have their top line face-offs here, offensive zone, defensive zone. You want to get certain players on the ice, right? And then you have sort of this. That's another thing I learned was you have this sort of elaborate scheme where your top pair's got to take this, take these, be on the ice for these draws, or we're looking to match lines and get this pairing, and then but you're also dealing with guys that are tired and they've played too much, or they're having a tough night, they're fighting the puck. There's a whole other body language and relationship that happens during a game. Some guys are just they're just game guys. You can't not play them, they're just hungry, and they bring everybody into the fight, and you can't ignore them when they're at the door. And there's other guys that go missing for periods, and so there's a whole other, teaching and scenarios that come up when you're at the bench door itself. And so I've learned that too. It's like you have this idea of what you'd like to do, and that can get thrown out the window real quick in a game as things start to unfold. So yeah, that's part of it. I think that, that relating as a forward was something that the kids, I think, understood too, because, I was honest with them. I said, boys, I've never played a game of D. I mean, so I'm just, I'm going to come at you as a forward and what I liked and didn't like. And if that helps, I hope it does. So that was just kind of my own way of trying to, relate better to the position. So.
And you know what? That perspective is going to be invaluable to them for the rest of their life, because they know you're coming from experience from the highest level. You're playing against the best defensemen. And if you can turn them inside out, and they got to learn how now to match themselves up against a player of a lot less. Right.
Well,
so it's definitely helpful.
Yeah. In some cases, I mean, that the players, the game's changed a lot, especially from the D perspective. I feel like, guys back in my time, it was glassing out. You never use the middle of the ice, that the idea of having two guys in the rush, two defensemen coming off the top of the blue line in the offensive zone was rare. So some of the new, trends to kind of extend offensive time and all the things that everybody's doing at our level or higher are new. So I had a fair bit to learn. I say that, like, with Coach Hamlin, he doesn't miss much. Like he's really thorough. Like he covers a lot of stuff in a training camp. He'll go through systems and have like slideshows and presentations on all the different sort of scenarios within the game. And he's as as tapped into the coaching fraternity at higher levels as I've been around. So we learned a lot. Like we would literally speakerphone pro coaches in the dressing room if we were confused about something, and sort it out right away. So he helped me a lot in that regard, because I was honest with him too. I'm like, I've never coached D, and you coached me. I never played any, right? So we would call coaches at higher levels and just talk through some of that. But again, it's just people, boys. You gotta manage personalities, and guys having a good night, guys having a bad night. Their guys are in or out or on or off, and then you're just managing time and minutes and fatigue too, where it's all happening at live. So there's a bit of that adjustment for me too there.
Yeah.
I thought you, Gary Volk, and Bill Berg were always playing catch up.
Volky and Bill Berg, yeah, always playing catch up with Birdsey, right? trying to get out there. That's right.
That's funny. Hey, so you're doing a lot of the alumni stuff this year, right? Because I know you've played in a bunch of different games.
I've played in a few. Yeah, we went up north. We played in a couple of games up north, and then we were in the Amherstburg game, and I played one more. Yeah, they're just more on the schedule now that things are starting to open up. Yeah,
right.
So it's
see, he caught that. I fucking knew it was you. I knew it was you.
I didn't hear what you said.
I was like, nice hook, by the way. Because so this play happened where the puck was on my stick. There was a guy like cross crease, like tapping. As soon as I was going to pass it there, my arm just stopped. Like I couldn't pass it. And then I turned around and he's standing there with a shit-eating grin on his face. And I'm like, that was you, wasn't it? Oh, it was me. I'm like, dude, you were the only one around me. I knew it was you.
The ref didn't see it either. I can't believe it.
I thought Vive said no back checking.
No, it was just a play. It just happened. I had the puck and Todd was standing next to me, and I went to pass it, and my arm just stopped. I couldn't do anything else. The puck slid away.
Couldn't give him a tap in.
No, I was like,
I'd be hearing it at the bench,
Oh yeah,
you
got on your watch too.
Yeah,
this guy lights us up. Between him and Vive was like 7 goals on us. Like it was fucking ridiculous.
What dash were you in?
Oh, I was
it.
-3 early, and every time this guy scores, he's fucking winking at me and stuff. I'm like, you're such a fucking like, thanks,
Wasn't that
Todd.
bad?
After every goal, thanks, Todd. -2. Thanks, Todd.
Actually, that was a pretty
-3.
good game. That was a pretty good game.
Yeah, that was fun.
And we played a couple weeks later in Milton, a week, 10 days ago now. And it was against a bunch of there was about a dozen guys that played senior together on a team. So they were a pretty good outfit too. We had to get our act together to win.
Gotta get a sweat going.
We're not getting any younger. These guys aren't getting any younger. Right? So,
Yeah, but I heard you were the fastest guy out there.
Oh my god, it was.
no, who's still really fast is Dave McElwain.
Mm-hmm.
And Max, Mac was never a big guy, but he still works out and he's fit. He's 50. Gosh, how old is Mac now? He's born at 67. So that would make him what?
55?
55, 56. He's probably 180 pounds still. Like that's probably what he played at. He can still, I played with him in Germany. He was 42 still.
Wow.
When we were still playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember we played a game in the playoffs that went into the 7th overtime. It's like I think it's the 3rd longest now game ever played. So there was a game in Norway a few years ago that went about 4 minutes longer or something. There's a game from the 30s. There was a game from Norway, and then there was our game. You can look it up. It was Cologne. We were playing in Cologne, and we were playing against Mannheim. And we had the stats at the end of the night, and Mac had played 66 minutes.
That's fucked.
Right?
Yeah.
We had a defenseman that played
Wow.
like 87 minutes that night.
Holy
Like
smokes.
we were like 6 minutes from playing 3 games in a row. Basically, we're in the 7th overtime.
How long did the game take? Do you remember?
So it started at 5 and it was over just after midnight.
That's nuts.
Holy balls.
Oh,
So
yeah,
what do you
smokes.
What do you
An
do
hour and a
in-
half of ice time.
Yeah. So
for the
what are you
D-men.
doing in the room after every overtime? Like you guys like fruit, water, like
Yeah.
what are you guys doing just so you don't like
Steroids.
up
We-
or anything like that?
So we were at home. We're at home, like thank God in the end. So we had power bars and these gel packs and bananas and fruit, all stuff. And actually our trainers went up and raided like chocolate bars and everything you could get from the concourse as well. So we get into so we're 6 minutes from playing 3 complete games. Okay. So a forward that plays, 60 minutes is playing, 22 a time kind of thing. So but I just remember Mac was like double shifting in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th overtimes. It was crazy at 40 years old. But we were at home and we had all that. We went all through that, whatever, we had in storage at the rink in the middle of the overtimes. But the other team, Mannheim, they only had what they brought, right? So what I remember maybe most about that is we finally win the game. And a guy named Camille Pirois, I don't know if you guys remember that guy named Camille Pirois, was a Slovak guy that played a little bit in Atlanta, but mostly in Chicago in the IHL. He scored. And of course, we didn't even hardly celebrate. We were so tired. But when we were leaving, I just remember as we're walking down the runway after the game, they had 3 guys in the ambulance on IVs. So because they had only what they brought. So they brought just the trainer would pack a bucket full of whatever food and gel packs and who knows, and that's it, right? So they were trying to, who knows what they had. So they had guys that were seasoned up bad, and then so thank God we won that game. And that we play in the German league. It's basically a weekend league. Like every other week, you'll play a Wednesday game or something. But and then we had to play 2 nights later. And I just remember because it was one of the worst games. Everybody was so tired, and we played that was game 4. So we won game 3 to take a 2-1 lead, best of 5, and that game went to overtime, and we won immediately first couple shifts of overtime to win the series.
Wow.
And I just remember sitting on the bench it's 1-1 at the end of regulation. There might have been 25 shots in the whole game. It was terrible. because everybody's just tired from 2 nights before. We only
But
get
everyone just look at the best player and tell him you
Yeah.
better score.
Yeah,
Yeah.
20,
So I just remember,
25
like-
muffins were fired during that.
Yeah.
that
And so we're
meeting.
looking down the bench, and all the guys are just rolling their eyes like, "Holy shit, here we go again!" You know? And then it was over in like 90 seconds, and we won
Oh.
the series.
You guys are like, thank God. Not again.
Yeah.
You needed the Russian gas.
Yeah, we would have taken anything at that point. Like, you get it, like, for a guy like, I mean, I don't know how Mac did it. Like, I was watching some of our guys. Like, you get into a game like that, it's like you're just surviving, and then you're just waiting for a break, to try to end it, right? Like, you're really just, you're just, trying to manage your body and your fatigue, and you just constantly, which is not what you do anyway as an athlete, but you're just constantly deciding how you feel. Like, and so, like, there was a period of time where I was cramping up, and then I had the trainer had like these potassium tablets, and then that was in the middle of that overtime stretch, and then I felt better later, which is strange. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, my wife tells it, it's funny because it started at 5, and we had kids that were like 3 and 5 at the time, my oldest two, and they were both asleep. Like, by the end of regulation, they missed the whole two more games. They're asleep by 8 o'clock, and there was like another 4 hours of hockey going on.
That's crazy.
Those potassium pills, are those like salt pills? Is that what that is?
I don't know what I had, to be honest. And it wasn't something I took regularly. It's kind of, it could have.
What is it? I don't fucking care. Just give it to me. I hope it helps.
Hey, at that point, you're just trying to.
No
feel
drug
bad.
testing after this game.
No
No, no.
piss
Germany
off.
is crazy. So
On acid
but he
and
was
mushroom.
passing. We had like, I don't even know how many. We had boxes of bananas, but I felt bad for them because I knew some of the guys too on their team, like guys like Dan McGillis and Rene Corbet, Jeff Shantz. You would know those names, and they had nothing. They only had what they brought. So for them to survive that long, and anyway, but we did win the game, and ultimately that was the difference in the series. You go through a game like that in the middle of a series, that kind of swings it in your favor pretty quick, right?
Yeah. Now I'm curious, when you're playing over there in the DEL, it's primarily a German league, right? All the teams.
Yeah.
Curious, in the locker room, does everyone it's because it's a mix of a lot of different cultures, right? A lot of guys from different countries. Do you guys speak your own languages kind of in your own little cliques in the room, or does everyone kind of do you guys know somewhat all English?
The Germans all speak English. The Scandinavians all speak English. You'll run into it with like Eastern Bloc, like Czech, Slovaks, and Russians, but mostly, yeah. Everything. I only played in two cities, but I played for 3 or 4 different coaches. So it was everything hockey wise was generally in English. Like when I played in Finland, I had a Finnish coach, and I had one of the assistants who would sort of translate, which was funny in itself because he was the Finnish coach was like this big sort of Pat Quinn kind of character in his 50s. He was a legendary coach, and you could tell whatever this coach was saying sounded gruff and maybe not real pleasant. And this other coach was like a 5'9", 150-pound guy, and he'd be translating. So it was just like it didn't line up at all, right? Anyway.
That's funny.
But
Keep up the good work.
Everything in Germany, surprisingly, was it's a soccer country, but there's a pretty big hockey culture there now, and when you see how much better they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
But everything, I played for 3 Canadian guys out of the 5, I guess I played hockey 4 in Germany, but everything was mostly in English, and it's a small world, the hockey, and the language is similar wherever you are in terms of the terminology and things you use in hockey, right? So it was pretty straightforward, yeah.
Awesome.
Now, so when you played over there, like we have a buddy that has been on the podcast, Matt Pumple. He's playing in Germany, and he said it is the funnest time that you can play hockey. Like he said, the arena's packed. They're getting after the beers like 2 hours before the games. And he's like, and it's just banging drums and hooting and hollering and singing songs. And He's like, I've never seen anything like it. Was it that way when you played over there too?
Yeah, it's hard for like when you watch soccer, it's a bit like depending on where. So I know Matty. Was Matty in Dusseldorf? Where was Matty playing again? I just talked to him last summer.
He's playing with the Panthers right now.
Augsburg.
Oh, Augsburg. Oh, sorry, Augsburg. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. So he's down. Yeah, and they got a new rink there too, because that used to be partly. Is that right? Partly outside. Augsburg used to be. But he was telling me. I saw him in the summer before he left. He was saying they got a new facility. Yeah. Anyway, it really. Yeah, there's a whole like. It's a soccer country, right? So you got to remember, like everybody has sparklers and flags, and there's songs and there's chants and there's things that go, and there's like a whole tailgate too beforehand, like a football atmosphere here. But yeah, once the game starts, the chants, the songs, the way you interact with the fans, like we used to skate around at the end of the game, and I have a video of my daughter. So when you win at home, and keep in mind, we're playing in Cologne, which is one of the bigger venues in the world. It's like 18,000 seats, 17,900. And my daughter, who was like 5, we have a video of it. And she would, like, with all the other kids, would kind of walk in from the blue line towards the one end zone where all like the home fans stand. So you can imagine 4,000, 5,000 fans just in this one end of the arena. And they're all like with the kids of the players on the team. So there'd be 3 or 4 of them maybe on the ice at any given time at the end of the game celebrating, and they'd all kind of skate at the towards the fans, and then they go 3 times in a row, woo, woo, and the kids just loved it. It was like they had all these people at their that could call.
That's so awesome.
And so we have video of it, and my daughter used to just love it. Right, she couldn't wait to go in there. She didn't care about the game. We should, as long as we win and she gets to do the fan thing. It's like,
all those people are there before her.
Yeah, it's hard for people to know. Like even in some of the small places, like a place like Augsburg had great fans. Like it was partially outside, and people would be all bundled up, and sometimes they, like loud and everybody has their own. Every town has their own beer, and every town has their own song or theme or anthem that they would sing, and it was like. Yeah, I didn't know that. Like I played on the national team, and we traveled around Europe, and we played in Italy and Austria, and obviously in Lillehammer, Norway in the end. So we did a pretty big tour of Europe while we were over there for a couple months. But I didn't, you don't get the same sense until you play in these towns, and it's your town against theirs, and they have these, the derby games like the English Premiership and all that, and relegation and all that. So there's a fair bit at play, and so I learned, it was cool. In Germany, like, to be fair, Germany's probably most like playing at home. I mean, the ice surfaces are all big, but they're all nice. You can't play in the DL now, and 9 out of 10 of the teams are in a 12,000 seat arena. Like it's a pretty cool setup, and like it's just, I mean, the culture, like all the things that happen. We like Germany the best. Probably for selfish reasons, because there were so many more Canadians in the league that we knew, and it was sort of like playing at home. But Finland was awesome. It's a huge hockey country. It feels a lot like Canada. It's like living in Winnipeg, when you're living in Finland. So it was a neat place to play. But it's hard for people to really wrap their head around that hockey would be that big in Germany, but it really is now. And if you watch, it's sort of like watching the World Cup on a smaller scale in an indoor venue. It really is like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is there any what would you largest differences as it relates to on ice situations between we know that North America to Europe, it's different hockey, right? When it comes to within Europe, what's the difference between like the Liga versus DEL?
Okay, yeah. So that's a good one. I mean, I haven't watched that closely in the last little while, but I would say, like, the first thing you notice about Finland is that there's only, I would say, in their league now, I would say half of the arenas in the Finnish league are big. The rest are like playing here, right? And there was a couple that were small. Like you're playing like legit pro men's hockey in a smaller than the North American size rink. So it's as much like you played at home as any of the leagues I played in at that time. Now, Sweden, they're all big for the most part. Swedes can all skate, you know, they're all skilled, but they all defend. So I mean, I never played in the Swedish league, but the Finnish league's a little more straight line. North America kind of aggressive. There's fighting. Like it's just like playing at home, really. Swedish league is probably faster and more defensive, harder to score in. Right? German league, you know, I'd say it looks like a dressed up version of the American league because, you know, they're all nice venues. There's lots of Canadian names. Most of the coaches are from North America. So while it's a lot of guys from North America that have played a North American style, I still think it's a bit more wide open because the ice is big and maybe not the pace, not as physical as Finland, not the pace of Sweden, and not nearly as strong defensively. If that makes any sense. So
more wide open.
Well, it just, yeah, the guys aren't as conscientious as the Swedes about, protecting their goal, I would say, is what but the Russian teams that we played a few of them in like preseason events. You know, I would say the top half of the Russian league is probably the best teams in Europe. And then there'd be a few of the Swedish teams or a few of the Finnish teams that could probably compete in that league, but it'd be tough, the top few. And then, you know, as good as we were in the 1 year we made the finals in Cologne, I would say you pop us down in the middle of the Finnish league, we're probably 5th, 4th, and same in Sweden.
Okay.
Like there's always a few teams in those leagues that are pretty good, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the level. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Damn.
I just think it's really cool how that you almost like every game that you play is a playoff game because like when we were talking to Pumple about being there, like it's like you got to play to stay in, right? Like you have to win to stay in, or you get relegated down to the next division.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how that works now, but like I know, for example, if you were an elite team in second league, you have to apply and you have to. I think there's rules about how much, you know, financially you need to have up front in order to even make a go of it. But in the Swedish league and all those leagues, there's a lot of second league teams and a lot of teams in general that have money and are have always wanted to be in the top league. So yeah, there is a whole, you know, the last sort of 6 weeks of the season takes on sometimes a mind of just trying to survive. And there's pressure from, you know, ownership. And I'm sure Matt would tell you, like a place like Augsburg for a long time was always that bottom third team, you know, and so they'd always be having to survive. And if there was somebody from the lower league that was, you know, wanting to make a go of it and get up into the top league, then it didn't happen every year in Germany, but I know in Sweden and Switzerland and places it does. And so it just depends on the year and depends on the financial sort of status of not just the teams in the elite leagues, but also the ones underneath that are trying to get in, right? So, so that's how it happens. Yeah.
the thing I follow them, the Panthers on Facebook, and Matt's sitting there getting his picture taken with a couple of the fans. But they have like plungers on their heads, like for Pumple, and it's like they just
for
don't
Pumple, yeah.
It was so funny.
It was so funny because they just don't get like
was
what
that
what pumps means it here to what it is there. Right?
Was that when he was in Malmo, or was that when he was playing for Augsburg?
I think it was Augsburg.
I thought that was Malmo.
SC Pantera?
Malmo, Sweden, I thought is where.
Oh, did he play there too?
Yeah, he played there before he went to Augsburg.
Okay.
This is his second year in Germany, but I'm pretty sure the picture was done last year.
Was it?
And then the year before that, he was with GR, right?
He went from Grand Rapids and then he went to Sweden and then now he's in Augsburg.
Augsburg.
Mm-hmm.
But he loves
it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Enough about Pumple. Wow.
Hockey's so different over there. It's nuts.
Well, it's a lot closer than it used to. Like, you know, I mean, the style you could make a case that some of the leagues over there are just as physical or rougher. Maybe there's not the fighting so much, but
Right.
on the puck and away from the puck, it's a lot closer than it was. Like, I mean, if you went over there in the 90s, I mean, it was nothing like what you saw on TV here at home, right? It was wide open, and you go to the Swiss league in the 90s, it was run and gun. It looked like 3-on-3 in overtime in this league, in the NHL now. That was 5-on-5 hockey. Nobody defended. It was how fast could you go? How quick could you get up the ice? And so, there's some good, you guys know lots of good skill over there, but
Yeah.
I think they just, when we forever allowed obstruction and all the dirty play and stick work, they didn't. And now I'd say it's pretty similar, really. It's not it wouldn't be a stretch for players to go over, play in Sweden, and come back and forth.
What do you think
years ago when you went to Europe years ago, it was sort of like you wrote your ticket out of the NHL. It was like, oh, he couldn't cut it, he left. Well, that's not the case now. Like, there's lots of good players, and if you can skate and play, you can play here just as much there. So that's what hockey is. So
now, what I've always actually wondered about guys from here to overseas, is it kind of the same, like money wise for guys, or is it a little less, or like how is it? Like, I'm not asking numbers, but I mean, is it like a little less for guys to play there rather than over here, even if they're in like freaking AHL or whatever?
Well, to be fair, I haven't been around it. I don't know what guys make, to be honest. I know that, the Russian league, depending,
take it home.
yeah, depending on, like, if it's guaranteed, if you can get a chunk of it up front, you can make really good money. You have ownership that, who knows where you're getting your money from, and it's a little underhanded and sketchy in places. And, I've heard some horror stories about guys not getting paid and not feeling, safe and everything else. But, you can go to Sweden and you can, if you're playing in one of the bigger outfits that makes good money, the players can make $250,000 or $300,000. And then Switzerland would be also, like, the elite players in the Swiss league, both Swiss and imports can make, $500,000. But in Germany, in Finland, most of the other places, a couple hundred, 250, you're making 150 or 180,000 euros. That would be sort of max, I would think. I'm not sure right now, but in my time, for sure. So, it's good. It's good money, but it's not on par with what you would make, obviously, as an NHL player now. Now, when I was playing, there was a whole bunch of guys that were in Europe who were drafted or who'd been to an NHL training camp, or some guys that were, my age, they're in their 30s and had a two-way deal back home, but chose Mannheim or chose, Djurgården, or chose another place in Switzerland, whatever, because it was guaranteed money and you didn't have to worry about being in the minors. So there was a whole bunch of German kids I played with in my time that probably could have gone over and at the very least been good American League players, but they don't know if they're going to get their shot to make the big dough, and they'll take the 150 guaranteed for a decade in the German League. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Make 70 in Rochester or make 150 in the German League. That's the thing. That's their call, right? There's a fair number of guys that probably could have and should have tried it and didn't.
Yeah.
So,
Or come back home and do drywall or sell cars, right?
and play at the same
hockey.
Yeah, like, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, like what you said earlier, that the leagues are more similar. It's so true, because even more so about that defensive structure being tighter in Sweden, you see players over there have lower numbers, and then in their rookie year they pop off, right? In the NHL.
Yeah, I mean,
it's that inverse for goaltenders.
Yeah, it's noticeable in the Swedish league. They all skate. They're all conscientious. They're all, they don't get beat one-on-one. It's a difficult league to score in, and special teams are important. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, there's small differences, and you really don't get to see it. There is this Champions League now that I only was just starting when I left, where the top teams from each of the leagues play off throughout the year. But that's the only time you can really compare outside of like a preseason tournament or something in August. But there is subtle differences. It's just culturally too. It's just the way they teach it, so that's why they play that way. So
yeah, that's fun to watch. It's fun to watch hockey. Like I watch some KHL games and some like Swiss games as well. SC Bern. They had a game last year. I want to say it was Boston played SC Bern in a exhibition match, which was fun to watch. Or was it Nashville? Nashville, because it was Yossi playing his old team.
Yeah, and did you see the crowd there? So that's
crazy.
A special place. That's a special place because say I was telling you about my daughter in Cologne when they they walk in towards the net from the blue line. In Bern, there's 16,000 fans, and literally 10 of them are on the one side.
That's crazy.
So when you come out of the dressing room and you skate out to the ice for warm up, the whole thing, it's like a big, section. It's all their fans, and it's like standing room only. Right. So imagine I'm guessing, but I think it's like 8,000 or 9,000 just there on the one side.
Wow.
So when you salute the crowd there, it's a little different. You would skate down the whole length of the ice, and players will go like this, and the crowd will stand up as they go along from blue line to blue line kind of thing. Right. So that's that many fans just on one section. It's really cool there.
It's crazy.
A great place to play.
That is nuts. But the one thing I was thinking about, like a lot of like when guys go overseas, it seems like the tough guys get paid just as much. Like in Russia, say the tough guys get paid just as much as the skill players, sometimes more. Like Nasty Morasti was on here telling us about how much money he was just making hand over fist, suitcase bags. It didn't matter. He was getting them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I know that there was a couple of the teams that were, I didn't play in the league, but I heard like the KGB guys and the couple of the teams, and then there's rival businessmen. I mean, Morasti tell you better than me. I know he played a bunch of places, and then when you're playing against the other, rival businessmen or team, whatever, and then you load up with all these guys, and then the stories of we win this game tonight, and here's another $1 million on the table, divided up. Like that's stuff like that's the Wild West a little bit, right? Like,
oh my god.
I've heard those stories too, and I remember Chris Simon, and like I'm sure Johnny Morasti would tell you, like there was a lot of guys, and they were only on like 3 different teams, right?
Yeah, McGrattan was there.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of like who the owners were and who were the rival, teams they were up against. And so that was, it's the Wild West there. That was 10, 15 years ago, I think, but it was
$1 million bucks on the board. Everybody gets a bottle of vodka and a wolf. Everybody gets wolf.
Well, that's a good deal. I
don't know. I thought I'd throw that in there.
Oh man.
And a reindeer.
Yeah, and a reindeer. Vodka is very important though.
Oh, that is funny.
Also too, I noticed too, I watched a little video that you did when you played at Comerica Park. I didn't realize that they had you mic'd up for that game, and you scored in that game too. I was there. Yeah,
so I was with Kojiko, the cable network in Windsor, when I was doing the Spits at the time. Yeah, that was pretty neat. We didn't really know, there was 2 different teams. There was the main game, and then there was like the B game that I was playing in, but it was pretty neat. And then it was like minus.
It was cold
6.
as shit that day.
It was cold, but they had heated benches, and it was fine. It wasn't bad at all. It'd be colder for you, definitely in the stands. And then, that's right, because the guy I scored on was Kevin Hodgson. You guys know him?
Yeah.
Oh my God, one of the funniest guys you ever played with. So he was our goalie in Tampa years ago, and he and I actually played together in Finland for about 3 weeks. So the same Russian kind of stories that you guys have all heard. Mm-hmm. But he went to Russia, and I don't remember what place. You guys could probably look it up. I think he only played a couple of games, and he got hit in the head. So what had happened was he went for training camp. They paid him like 6 figures to come, and then it was like, he stays. It was sort of like month to month. So anyway, he tells the story, and you got to hear him tell it because he's one of the funniest bastards. So he said the coach, he got hit in the head in the game, and the trainer came in the next day and said, "No, he was wiping the helmet, the puck mark off the helmet." And Hodgie's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, you think concussion? You have concussion?" He's wiping the puck off. He's like, "It's all staged." So the owner said to the coach, said to the trainer, and he's like, "No, I'm fine. Just glanced off my head." He's like, "Come with me. We go see the trainer. Go see the therapist." So the therapist, like, he's shining a light in his eye. He's like, "You okay? Follow my finger, all this stuff." And Hodgie's like, "Hey, I'm fine." So then it comes to like, the coach is like, "No, you have to go upstairs and see the boss." He's like, "Okay." So he goes to see the boss, and he said it was like, it was like Tarantino. They had the rope on the light bulb, and he's like, he's in the room, and the guy goes, "You have concussion, in Russia. You have concussion. You must go home now." And Hodgie's like,
Wow.
"No." And he's like, "No, you have concussion. You have concussion." Right?
Wow.
So then he like reaches into the safe and gives him like a pile of cash and says, "Here's a plane ticket." They got rid of him. They kicked him out. Basically.
You go home now.
So this is like, you go home now. You go home. So this is like, that's in August, September, and now I'm in October. I'm going to Finland to play, and he's coming. And I was so pumped to hear that he was going to be coming to play in Jokerit in Helsinki. So he and I played in Tampa together for parts of 2 years. Anyway, so that's his story from Russia. He was
That's
those stories happen all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like the stories of he got a glancing shot, and then he basically got sent home.
Wow.
Well, they just fired you whenever they wanted to, right? You're just done. And what are you gonna do?
They could. I mean, what are you gonna do, right? Like, look, right. So to be honest, like that same year, I had an offer to go play Moscow Dynamo, and so the only reason I didn't go, it was good money, 3 times as much as I ended up making in Finland, and that was when Ovechkin was there as a kid. He was still a teenager. I mean, I didn't know, but my experience was like I'd been with the national team to what was called the Izvestia tournament. Back in the day, it was like one of these Russian tournaments over Christmas. And it was like, we had like sleepers because of the bugs in the bed. And it was like, we heard somebody get shot in downtown Moscow. It was like, we didn't leave after 9 o'clock. Like you go up to your room and you hand your key in at the desk at each of the floors, and there'd be like hookers. It was sketchy. It was sketchy. Oh yeah. So we were all, so my only recollection of Russia was that, and I got a daughter and I'm married now, and I'm like, I'm not going there. You know what I mean? Like, But some of the guys I know that went to like places like St. Petersburg, like Travis Scott, the goalie, played in Magnitogorsk when Dave King was coaching, and there were some good spots along the way and good money made, but there's also some shady stuff that went down. And I'm glad. We liked Helsinki a lot. The money would have been nice, to be fair, but I mean, we wouldn't change it for anything now. Like Helsinki was a great place to live, and we loved it there. So
I think Jokerit recently moved to the KHL.
Now they're back.
Yeah, that's right, because of the stuff that's going on. So
yeah, they'd seen enough. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So Todd, we've kept you for about an hour now, and I really hope you come back, because like I had a couple pages of stuff to ask you about guys you played with, and I didn't even get to them. But
well, anytime, boys, we can do it again, no problem.
Awesome, because I know you got a house full. So I just wanted to ask you, like, so when did you become a cake eater when you joined the NHL and like got rid of the booze and went after the wine, or were you a beer guy or a wine guy?
I've never been a wine
like all
guy.
these NHLers now are all bougie and drinking their wines and
eating bonbons and shit. Like what the fuck's
pinkies out, crushing cake.
No, buddy. When I started, I tell this, when I started when I was 20, 21 in the league, like I played on a team that average age was like 31. And it like twice a week, it was from practice to lunch, and lunch turned into dinner around the pool table. And that's what we did, boys. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was crazy. I would get home at 7:00 gas twice a week. Okay. And then I learned I had to, it's like at some point you go, wow, how do these guys keep this up? It's like some of these old guys have been weaned on it for so long, that old man strength, right?
Yeah.
There was a period of time, probably in the middle there, where when we went to dinners on the road, we would always have wine. But I've never been like, I'll have a glass with my wife on the weekend, but that's it. I'm not going to look for wine. I still like my beer. I do.
Yeah, I was listening to Cam Jansen, and Jansen was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm just all about the wine now."
Cam Jansen?
Yeah.
He doesn't strike me as the type. He doesn't strike me.
Oh shit!
He's a cake eater. He's a fucking cake eater now.
Well, you never know. Right?
I was like, what is going on with that? But yeah, Tris, go ahead, bro. You got?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, and here's gonna be my last question. So way back in the beginning of your career, you're with the Windsor Spitfires. What high school were you going to when you're playing for the Spits?
I went to Herman High School.
Okay, do you know Tatey McGuire?
Tatey McGuire.
Yes.
Maybe.
I think you. Oh. She went to Herman as well, but like you knew Corey. Like a lot of the guys, Jankowski. So
yeah, sure.
So
yeah, this girl's name is Tate. What is her name?
No, it's a guy. Yeah. That's my uncle. Tatey.
His name is one, Todd.
Yeah, his name's Tatey. Yeah.
Tatey McGuire. He's a Maidstone boy.
Yeah.
He went to Herman?
Yep, he'd be the same age as you.
Oh my God, buddy. I probably do. I went for 2 full years. It was an eye opener for me, because I'm from this little sheltered town, and we had this principal who was like, old school regimented military kind of type. Awesome. But, and then I went to Herman. I can remember first of all, there's like 3,000 students, right? And it was just like, I come from a high school where there was like 600, so it was like, you knew everybody every day in the hallway. You know what I mean? Like, it's like going to public school. And it was, but we had our team, and I stayed with the Bugner family. We talked about this before. So Bob Bugner's family, his brother Doug was on student council. I don't know if your friend knows Doug, but so Doug, I had an in. I walked into the school. Not only did I have the other Spitfire guys there, but I also had Doug Bugner, Bob's younger brother, who was on student council, and he knew all the cool people. So I had an in right away. So I had it really easy, but.
That's awesome.
It was a tough school. A lot of guys, a lot of good football, good basketball program. I remember watching Country Day play them that year. So this is another story. Country Day with Chris Webber came and played Herman, who'd been to OFSA for basketball, and they beat him 93-40 or something right on Herman's court. It was crazy. We watched that, but it was, hey, listen, I had a good experience. The hockey mattered, but the people around the school were really good to us there. And it was, an inner city school. It was a tough school. It was an eye opener for some of us little, as you said, munja cake, white boys from all over, from Sudbury, you know what I mean?
Bunch of cake.
But it was, but it was good for me too, because I was from a little town, and I never really experienced that. So. Awesome. We got to know a lot of the guys that we'd hang out with the basketball and football guys in the cap. There were some good guys in my class. They helped me because I was a decent student. But we were away a lot. We didn't, and so the people, I think of Mr. Jacobson and some of the teachers I had, who they looked out for us a little bit too, when they didn't have to, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're missing 20, 30 days of school every year, things start to pile up. They can not help.
30 days.
Yeah. That was,
well, I mean, we missed, I think it was and Windsor was one of the better places, we used to go north and play 4-4 and stuff, right? So, I mean, it was, 12 or 15 days every semester. Yeah.
They
Well,
never
the
have.
reason
Some of those were because of the schedule. Some of those weren't. But
Yeah, some of those were because of this schedule.
the reason Tristan was asking you is because he lent you $5 and you owe him on the bid.
oh, yeah, interest is accumulating. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, that's my uncle, and he went to that
Okay.
school. So he was just telling me about all these hockey players who went to Herman, and I guess I never realized it was kind of like a program they had, eh? The Spits agreed to have their
Yeah.
players go to the school, and then they could travel. And
I think that was the public school, and then they went to Assumption, one of the Catholic schools. So it was split between the two of them. So there was basically two schools where the Spitfires went. I want to say it was maybe Massey.
Yeah, I don't. There was only a few guys that went. I should know that too. It might have been Massey, but I know later they did go to Assumption.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it was a good place to go. I mean, it was, mostly about the hockey, but the people there were really good to us. They did look after us because it was, you do miss a fair bit of time, and yeah. So
Anything else, boys? Or you guys?
Yeah,
set?
I got one more. So Todd, have you been down to see Pales? Like he's running a pretty good wagon here. Like
oh, I know.
I call him
Yeah, they're good.
Mike Lamarillo.
I did. I saw him. I saw him the last time, 2 times ago. So probably about a month ago when the Blades were in Essex, we chatted. Yeah, I hadn't seen him. I mean, you guys know it's sort of the they're the team to beat in the league.
Absolutely.
It doesn't shock me that
number one in Ontario, I think.
have they only lost twice.
Twice, yeah.
yeah,
Once
in overtime.
Yeah, I
Humble
mean, yeah. So it's like even back when I played, when I played, and I mean, if it's not Essex, it's Lakeshore, and
Mhm.
I don't even know the numbers. I would guess in the last 20 years, there's only been a few other teams that wasn't one of those two that's actually come out of the league. So I mean, they do a great job. Pales is a good choice because he's he's real thorough, and he's good person. He would relate well to the players and the staff, and yeah, he'll crush it, no doubt about it. So, but the team, the reputation, precedes them. They have a great winning program, and they attract great players. They attract players that, half of their roster probably has played past this level at some point.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it's sort of like we have a few guys like that now with the Blades here in town too. So that's really, as much as, you like kids to kind of advance and keep moving up, and if you can get kids that move to the area for school or whatever, and financially you can look after them a little bit, then, you're putting together a pretty good outfit if you're getting tier 2 and junior B guys all the time. So that's been the blueprint. So they've had a nice run, and we had a stretch, when I was coaching 10, 12 years ago, where we had a half a dozen Windsor kids coming every year for about a 3-year period there. But that was rare, to have that many kids come from Windsor. They usually, they don't want to, geographically, we're in a tough spot to attract, players from Windsor or Sarnia, and then anybody that moves for school, it's tricky, and you got to give them gas, and it's, we don't have the financial backing that some of the programs do. So no, Pales is awesome. I enjoy working with him. I mean, I'm not surprised he's done a good job. And the people and the team, and I know some of the players on the team too, they really like the way it's going. So yeah, our Blenheim boys they got some ground to make up to beat that team. We know that. So we'll see.
Have you guys tried selling beer in your arena?
Beer connoisseur. Right
I
here
lobbied
us.
for that so hard to get beer sold in that arena,
So,
and now they're doing it.
well, I don't know how they did it, because they'd have to pay, like, we were told, because there's a big upstairs here too. Like they used to do it years ago. There was a whole Blue Line club, and everybody had one.
Oh.
And it was insurance, and it was like you had to have security, and there was a whole expense
Well, that's 'cause
associated
you
with
guys
it.
are getting all fucking tuned up there. That's why you just got to go in there and have a couple times.
Tipping over cows after games. And
It wasn't me. I was just asking. But they said, your liquor license, and then the security you had to hire, and insurance. It was just a headache. They didn't want to deal with it. So it's too bad, because I can remember being upstairs there in the Blenheim Arena as a kid, or Bell River even.
Yeah.
And it was just a great, lots of more people. It was a huge,
well, that's the
huge
thing.
crowd.
$5 beers, and now you can bring your beer back to your seat.
I know.
Like
Imagine.
it's not a room that you got to go into. Like remember at Windsor Arena, you had to go down to that room to have your beers, and you'd end up missing freaking first 5 minutes of every period.
I'm sure the rink shrinks would have a bit of advice on what not to do. That would probably be one of them. Right? Don't bring your beer, but don't bring your beer back to your seat.
That's funny.
Well,
Too many crazy hockey dads.
Yeah.
Blenheim's going to be, if Blenheim can hang on to this kid, he's going to be quite the star. His name's Austin Drew. You know him?
Yeah, Drew. Yep, we do. He's a friend of my son's.
He's an 05, and that kid is good.
Yeah. So my son and he played. He never played AAA.
Really?
And so yeah, my son and he are buddies. They played some sports together in high school. But anyway, he's a great kid. He's a really good ball player and basketball. I mean, he's good at everything. He's a good athlete. But we would always say, "Hey, come out! Why don't you come out to tryouts?" And he never wanted to come to play AAA, and he was always close. I mean, to say like he was one of our better, I'm not sure every year he would have made it, to be honest. But you watch this kid. He's not big. He's not a great skater, but he just knows where to play. He's just one of these guys that thinks sports. He gets it. Like he can play basketball. You drop him in the middle of a senior basketball game, he's going to make it. He's going to make plays. Mm-hmm. Like in volleyball, he can jump through the roof. Like he can run, and he's a really good ball player. So he's a great student. He's been to several schools already. For next year, he's pushing 95. He's going to have his pick of schools. Engineering, it looks like. So I hope secretly, a lot of these 05 kids, I want, like my kid who's an 05, I want them to stay another year and play sports, and they miss so much time. It feels like they're just rushing them into school, right? So we'll see, but he's an awesome kid. He works really hard. He's smart, and he's a good player. And we just, we're just starting to see it now, because really he played AA his whole life, so
he's another Keith Jones in the making.
Yeah, he's got a great stick. I mean, I don't know. I just hope he continues to play. Like if he's going to go to, I don't know, Queens or Laurier or something, we go someplace for a hard program that he's ready for. It's going to be tough to play sports, like on the side, right? So, yeah, he's played. I think he scored in one of his junior B games. He played some in Chatham too, right? So, nice. Yeah, awesome kid. I'm glad you mentioned that. Thanks for bringing him up.
Yeah, no problem. Like I just was trying to remember. I remember he got off to a really hot start. Was carrying the team. Him and Tate Bowden. Tate's been with the team a couple of years. He's always been good. So
yeah, he's good. He's a big, strong kid. He played junior B for a year and a half too, right? So yeah, no, Druzy had an awesome start. He got called up last year for 2 games and scored 4 times. As an 05, as an underage.
So he's 14.
Well, he was 50, but he was like after Christmas or after January or whatever, you're only allowed the 1 card, but then you could call guys up for up to 10 games. My son played some too. And he scored 4 times in 2 games.
Awesome. What's your son's name?
Sam.
What's your son's name? Tim? Okay.
No, Sam.
Sam. Okay, Sam. All right, Sam Warriner.
I'm shocked you don't know freaking who he is. You've named
that's a first
team.
That's a first. He's our stat guy.
I'm looking right at his name right now.
Is that why you got hired?
This
guy we got going on.
Your son is the exact same size as me. I'm looking at his roster sheet right now.
Exact same size as you?
Yeah. 6 foot and 163.
He's 6'2". He's about 170.
Okay, well the stats are off then.
Yeah, well, that was probably 6 months ago.
They got a goalie who's 6 foot.
Sorry, I lost you. 6 foot.
He's 6'7", their goalie.
The Blaze goalie?
There's a guy listed on the roster, Daniel
What's his
Roger.
Name?
Daniel Roger.
Oh, Daniel Rogers is the third goalie. He plays midget. He's 6'5" or 6". Yes, he's a big kid. Yeah, he's a big kid.
Large boy.
He's like the third goalie though, but he's okay. He'll play. He'll play at some point.
My God. Anything else, boys? You guys set? Can we cut them free or what? Todd, this has been great.
I think he's
Thank
good.
you.
Really appreciate it, Todd.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
boys.
fantastic.
Welcome anytime, obviously. So we'll have to have you on again. Just don't take as long this time, okay? Last time this is almost what, 2 years, Rob, we said?
We still got 2 sheets, bro.
Yeah, Rob still got 2 sheets of just crazy shit.
Yeah,
I'll
like
try
Todd Fedoric and
I'll
Peter
try to have a better
Nedved and
story.
Paul Correa and
Todd Fedoric. Wow. The
Can you
fridge
end
for
us
that
on a
one.
good one?
A good story
Yeah,
about the fridge?
anything. About whatever you want.
yeah, about the fridge for sure.
I'm sitting on the bench. It's my first game in Philly. I'm playing with Fridge, Todd Fedoric, and Marty Murray. Remember Marty Murray, little guy?
Mhm.
And that's the fourth line. That's our fourth line. So we're sitting on the bench, and it's about 5 or 6 minutes into the game, and the whole time I think all I'm hearing is Ken Hitchcock, our coach, just screaming at everybody, like, and you know, I'd heard he was, you know, an interesting cat to play for, but he's yelling at, you know, Jeremy Roenick, and he's yelling at Eric Desjardins. He doesn't pick spots. He doesn't pick on fourth line guys. He yells at everybody the whole time. Holy, and it's this is the voice. Holy fuck! What the fuck are you doing? Like that kind of a voice, right? It's just like you can hardly just like, oh my god, she's still going on. So I'm sitting on the bench, and I finally I'm like, Fridge, is he like this all the time? He's like, buddy, it'll get way worse. Don't worry. And sure enough, like I never seen anybody like this guy. He would yell the whole time the play's going on, which is the best part, because you know he knows in his mind, he's like, well, as long as the play's going on, the camera's not on me, right?
True.
So which is funny, because as soon as the play stopped, like as soon as the whistle went and guys changed lines or whatever, he's up on the boards, you know, like quiet. Like, I've come on,
Like nothing ever happened.
But I'll give him credit. He was a great coach when you were trying to go into a series or you're breaking down the other team and getting ready, like putting a plan together to beat the other team. He was awesome, but he was a pain in the ass to play for. And he had this voice that was just like, you know, fingernails on the chalkboard. Oh my God.
Anybody that's ever played for him, they always do that voice. And it's so funny.
I couldn't believe it. Like I've already played in 5 different plays, whatever I played already. I thought I'd seen just about everything, but this guy, and he would yell at the best players too. He didn't pick his spots. It was great, but it was some pain in the ass.
Love
Oh
it.
yeah.
Sounds like an angry Mickey Mouse, eh?
Oh my God, he is something else. Something else.
Beautiful. All right, Todd. Perfect way to end it, buddy. Thank you again so much. And
Yeah, no
hopefully
problem,
we
boys.
can chat again. If you're in this area again, hit us up. We'll have some beers.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm down at Spit Game. I got to work, but yeah, anytime,
Crown
boys.
Royal
I
room
love
after?
to chat. Sorry.
Crown Royal room after or what?
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
All right, down. All right, buddy. Take care.
Okay, boys.
Yep.
Good chat. with
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Take care. All right.